Daemon is your DPS character within Bleeding Edge. He's a ninja, and these types are almost always found in hero shooters. Today, we'll be going over his abilities and combos within Bleeding Edge. So let's get into it. First, we'll start with his basic attacks. His Graffiti Blade, a 4-button press attack consisting of 6 hits, each dealing a total of 232 damage, not buffed. Each hit goes along the lines of a 49, 28, 30, 60, 20, and 45, equaling a total of 232. Though, if you want to add the 7.5% basic damage buff, this will bring it to a total of 250, separated along the lines of 54, 30, 32, 64, 22, and 48. Also, as in almost every character has that can be knocked down, Daemon has a get-up attack. A get-up attack is consisting of a combo this time, which is 2 hits. This 2-hit combo will keep consistent throughout the time, unless you also increase its damage. Its 2-hit combo consists of a 25 damage attack on the first hit, and a 32 attack on the second hit. It's good to note that with his get-up attack, he can go straight into his damage combos of 4-button presses, straight from there, doing extra damage or if someone's up close. Now, moving on to his first ability, Shift. Shift is a dash forward, but if you also press the attack button, he will do a double swing with his sword in a spread direction. This is good to note that it's also an AoE damage attack. Basic damage attack of this ability is 77 on both swings. With the 15% damage boost, you're increasing each attack to 89. So 89 on each swing. It also after that, we'll have his stealth ability. His stealth consists of two abilities in one. It either can sleep a target when entering stealth, or its first attack can be buffed by about an extra 60% or 55%. It changes with depending on the ability you're choosing to use. So depending on the shuriken, depending on the shift ability, or depending on the basic attack ability. But overall, it will buff the damage of your first attack. The key point there is your first attack. So let's get into more detail. So stealth is about an 18-second stealth ability. So you can be in stealth for about 18 seconds, and you can sleep a target for 5, which can also be increased to 7, and also has that silence ability, which we'll talk about later, but it can be useful when we talk about it later on. It also has a cooldown of 18 seconds, which is good to note for now. It also, now we'll go over the different types of damage buffs with this ability. This ability is one of the most unique abilities because it's one that buffs and stacks on all other types of damage buffs. So in saying this, Daemon can burst potential is the highest within the game, stat-wise. And highest burst DPS character in the game is Daemon. And I'm about to tell you why. So we go at normally the stealth damage buff, like I said, was about 60% increase in damage to end your first attack. So in saying this, we're buffing that initial 49 damage that we did for a basic attack at the start to 80 just straight out, without no buffs, nothing. Just the straight buff is straight to 80 when you're doing your first attack. If you increase your basic attack damage and come out of stealth, they'll go to 92. But if you the stealth mod also has an increase that increases that initial damage out of stealth by 30%. This can bring that first basic attack to 110 damage straight up. Now, in saying this, we can also talk about comboing his stealth with other abilities. So stealth with the stealth with the stealth mod comes with just a stealth mod, and you're doing a basic attack and you have no basic attack buff is 102. So that's just your 30% and no 7.5%. Now, your stealth mod and your shift ability, this is where damage numbers get very interesting. So your shift ability base is 77 and increased it's 89. So we understand that already. But the stealth mod, when you come in with the base 77, increases that initial damage to 143. With the stealth mod on, the 30% increase, you get that 143 damage at plus 77 for the second swing, and you're doing 220 damage. Then the stealth mod with then the shift increase damage, that brings it to 89. We then jump to 164 damage on the first hit and 89, like we said, on the second hit, bring it to a total of 253 damage in less than a second. Now, to finalize this, nothing. So base shift ability with just the base stealth mod out of thing, it's about 120 damage. So shift ability, so that's just that shift ability, and that's base attack buff, and its base stealth buff is 120 damage plus 77, which is 197 damage all up. Now that's it for his stealth, but we'll also go back to his stealth later on after we finish the shurikens. The shurikens, you have 3 charges. These charges do an initial damage. So when you throw it at him and it hits the target, it does an initial damage of 30 damage and a tick for 8 per second. It's good to know that this the tick damage, that bleed, is 4 seconds long base, though the mod can extend it to 6 seconds, and also good to note that this extension also extends the slow as well. So it'll also be slowed for 6 seconds and tick for an extra 16 damage with that mod. So it's very useful, has a lot of utility within just one mod. Now, moving on to his ultimate. So his ultimates consist of Shadow Strike and Death Mark. Shadow Strike is a 3-second ability or ultimate, which does damage based on the percentage of the enemy's max health. When testing this, it is based on the max health, but if they're fully in the ultimate and it's solely one person, it will bring them down to about a bar and a half, 2 bars at most, depending on how much their health pool is. Though when another enemy comes into the ultimate, it's hard to say how the damage is separated between them, because it's depending on the strikes, as he does about 14 strikes within that 3 seconds on an enemy that does damage percentage of their max health. So depending on how many people within it, the damage will be shared. Now, moving on to his Death Mark. His Death Mark lasts 8 seconds and does about 1/3 extra damage to every ability, everything that Daemon does. This 1/3 is variable on different abilities, like we've said before. But basically, you've got your Death Mark, last 8 seconds. You can reset it, and then you can use it again for another 8 seconds, so on and so forth. It just repeats the process until you run out on that 5-second timer, or you run out on that 8-second timer, and it will just disappear and it will start recharging again. Now to talk about Daemon as a whole. So Daemon's kit is very unique, as 2 abilities, mainly his stealth and his shurikens, animation cancelers within both his combos. So in saying this, when we're talking about the combo damage or the graffiti blade, allowing or doing the first 4 hits allows the target not to be staggered and not to escape. Obviously, they can evade if they have stamina, but if they have no movement ability, they can't use that ability. They can't escape. They can't evade, and you always keep them trapped under that stagger. Now, saying this, you can use the 4 hits, which continuously keep him staggered, because after the 4 hits, he'll do his spin, which then allows time for the enemy to either use a movement ability, or not use an ability that heals them or shields them. So, like, say you're versing a Kulev and he shields them and he shields himself, then you won't be able to keep staggering him if he's able to shield himself. Now, in saying that, now once you've kept them staggered, you can then cancel your 4th attack and then go straight back into your first one and keep that flow going, not allowing them to escape from you. Saying the same thing with his shurikens, Instead, there's a little bit more of a time gap and you got to kind of perfect it. Though if you throw a shuriken and then you can instantly start the first attack right after the fourth. But then going again, and talked about the damage numbers, this is where he gets his high burst potential from. Not just from his stealth shift, but also from his animation cancelling. Because you have the constant tick damage, you have the constant repeats of the fast 4 attacks, and people will die very, very quickly, especially if you're using Death Mark. But now, to talk more about his ultimates, you're mainly going to be using Shadow Strike. This is because it's a great area denial ability. And area denial in this game is very important, especially when it comes to holding flags or making sure they can't turn in cells or anything like that, or pretty much your, get out of jail button. It's like you won't die. Your team can follow up. You can keep pressure, and you can instantly get healed right after you come out of the ult. That's that. But it's also, before I finish up, it's also good to note that Daemon's Death Mark makes him come out of stealth. And finally, obviously, you've got Daemon can wall jump. Anyway, that's it from me. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to like, favorite, and subscribe. And catch me on my Twitch at x1_A1.